Spyro Zodiotes wrote this, introducing us into the book of Ezekiel. Ezekiel is eschatology. It's eschatology. Okay? Eschatology means last things, the study of last things. Many of the books of the Bible are eschatology. How many of you knew that Genesis had a lot of eschatology in Genesis? Genesis has a tremendous amount of eschatology in it. The Psalms. All right? We have studied the Psalms. We have studied the book of Daniel so far. And now we're going to study Ezekiel. I'm going to slow down just a little bit in Ezekiel. I'm trying to give you just an overview of the Old Testament where you can understand how the Bible. We're studying the Bible in 8 ages right now. We've got a syllabus and everything else. And in the syllabus, they don't go into this heavy at all in the Old Testament. But I wanted you to get a little bit deeper study on that breadth.
What's eschatology? I mean, I've studied something, but
last things. Eschatology is last things, the end times. Okay? Last week we studied, remember what the lesson was last week now? No God, no gold, no guns, no money, no food. We studied about it. And last week we looked at whether we have the mark of the beast already or not. It's very possible the mark of the beast is already here. Our Social Security number. Simple as that. Hey, what about the Social Security number? You can't get a driver's license without a Social Security number. You can't get a job without a Social Security number. You can't have a bank account without a Social Security number. You can't have a hunting license or a fishing license without a Social Security number. You can't go to the doctor. You can't get any health insurance. Can't get a job. If you go back to Revelation, the 6th chapter, what is the mark of the beast? The economy of the end times. In Revelation, the 13th chapter, and Revelation, the 17th chapter, we studied that last week. Nothing. Can't have anything. Now, every nation has got a number, and our Social Security number is our citizen number. Your mother and your father are there in your Social Security number. Well, what makes it different? What is different? We've been numbered already. What do we lack?
Someone to do something with it.
Huh? What do we lack for all of this to be put in place in the end times?
Antichrist.
America will be part of the Antichrist kingdom. We know that.
Peace in the Middle East.
No.
No?
No. There are going to be nations against the Antichrist. Who are the nations against the Antichrist? Against the Antichrist.
Will we be against it?
All of the Arab nations will be against the Antichrist.
Russia and China?
And Russia and China. Okay? But where will America stand? America will stand with the Antichrist.
Yeah, we'll be with the Antichrist.
We'll be with the Antichrist. That's scary, isn't it? That ought to make your hair stand on end. But that's the way it is. And it's going that way. Do you think you're going to turn it around? No. It's going to go exactly, I can guarantee you in history, we're in space and time exactly where we're supposed to be right now. Exactly where we're supposed to be. Right now. All right. Book of Ezekiel. Ezekiel went into Babylon in the second deportation in 597 BC. 4 years later, he began a prophetic career that was to last more than 20 years. Let's talk about Ezekiel now. All of it in Babylon. He had the helpful habit of dating many of his prophecies, dating the prophecies, saying the exact year when they were going to take place. Okay? And most of the messages about contemporary events were delivered before the fall of Jerusalem in 586 BC. The New Jerusalem section in chapters 40 through 48 held out hope for restoration of the land and the temple after the exile. All of the prophets, Ezekiel was probably the most colorful. He used pantomime. What I mean, he acted out his prophecies. Okay? He would cry and wail and slap his eyes. He ate a scroll. And what book in the New Testament? Who ate the scroll also? In the New Testament. He kind of ate it. Who? Revelation. John in the book of Revelation. And did many other unusual things to burn his messages into the minds of his people. Some of his visions were unusually arresting in their graphic details. From Ezekiel we got a picture of a holy, transcendent God whose name and glory must be protected. By contrast, Judah had sunk to the depths of depravity and in national apostasy. God had to punish his people because of his hatred of idolatry, but He never ceased to love them. Okay? Israel is a God-hater today. Do you know that? I remember when Brother Madden, when we walked into the Wailing Ball, he said, "Ungodly, damnable people." Out there kissing the scrolls and beating their heads against that wall, praying. But to what? To a scroll, not to God of heaven. Okay? But in this whole tribulation period, the eschatology of the end times, Israel will be brought back to God, and Israel will be God's administrator for 1,000 years on this earth. But they aren't ready yet. They're going to go completely away from Him. Completely. Sometimes a person has to become very bad before God can help them. I remember years ago, I used to do work with the Alcoholics Anonymous and everything, because I had so many alcoholics in my family. You know, that was something that boy, it's rough. Alcoholics, they thrash your family, you know. They thrash everybody. They thrash themselves, but they thrash everybody else too. So I went, and I took one of my schoolmates there to the Alcoholics Anonymous AA meeting over there. I think it was on 34th Street at that time. When he walked in there, they started giving him a hard time. I mean, really a hard time. I called for him and everything else. I went in there, and anyway, they said, "You're not ready. You haven't hit the bottom yet." Israel, when they hit the bottom, is going to be right in the middle of the tribulation period. That's when they're going to be. That's when the Antichrist is going to come. They will accept Him. He said, "If I come in my Father's name, you will not accept me. If He comes in His own name, you will accept Him." Okay? And they will. He will build them a temple. They will have the temple. They will have their sacrifices every time, according to the book of Hebrews, whoever the writer of the book of Hebrews, every time a Jew will offer a sacrifice is blasphemy to God. The Messiah has already come. The sacrifice has already been sacrificed. Okay? Doesn't have to be over there in the last days. His hatred of idolatry, but He never ceased to love them, and God never has ceased to love the Jews, even though they don't love Him today. Not only was Judas in a national one, but Ezekiel stressed individual responsibilities for one's own sins to an extent unparalleled in the rest of the Old Testament. Ezekiel forms an important background for many passages in the New Testament. That's what I want to get across to you. Ezekiel forms the background for many passages in the New Testament, but this is perhaps the true more of Revelation than any other book. Now we're going to go all the way through Matthew, through the book of Jude, and we're going to study all those, and we're going to see different books in the New Testament that are eschatological books. Okay? We're going to study all of them, and then we're going to study the book of Revelation again. Every chapter in it. Okay, we're going to do that at the end of this class. When this class ends. This is class number 200 right now. That's a lot. All right. Revelation, then any other material from most of Ezekiel's chapters are quoted and alluded to in all but one chapter in Revelation. All but one chapter. What other Old Testament books are eschatological? End time. Daniel. Isaiah. Ezekiel. Joel. Even Micah. All right? These are Malachi. These are all books. We're going to look at them a little bit. We'll probably jump through them a little bit, but I want to get into the New Testament. We've been in the Old Testament for 200 classes. So we're looking forward to it. But last week we studied Revelation, the 6th chapter. We studied Revelation, the 13th chapter, and Revelation, the 17th chapter in our class. And I kind of reviewed it a little bit because some of you weren't here. And it doesn't hurt to review, does it? One of my teachers used to say, when you teach, repeat, and maybe they will get it. Maybe they will get it. You just repeat. The vision of 4 figures. All right? Ezekiel, the 1st chapter. Ezekiel chapter 4. Now it came about in the 30th year, in the 5th day of the 4th month. See, he's telling you exactly what period of time that he received this vision. He names the time. A lot of the people that study the Old Testament Scriptures that don't believe in the inspiration of the Bible. Now, I believe in the inspiration of the Bible a lot different than some people do. I'm going to tell you that right now. On Wednesday night, we're studying that just a little bit. Those two old books over there, pages out of the books, that one is King James Version. It's 400 years old. That was made the first year, printed the first year the King James was printed. The second one is Theodore Beza's rendition of the Latin Vulgate and a little commentary. Now, a lot of those old Bibles, they had a little commentary over the side and cross references. It goes way, way back. Okay? Way, way back, even to the Greek Scriptures. Okay? Now, many people that believe, have you ever heard of the term King James only? All right. Many people that believe, you ever heard of the term King James? They're only going to study King James. Okay? That's it. That's the only inspired Bible. And what they usually say about this, how they usually defend the King James only, is they say God would not have allowed them to produce this Bible had it not been inspired. Boy, I'm going to tell you something. There's a whole lot of text out there, a whole lot of Bible. King James was printed for the Church of England. The Church of England believed in baptism or regeneration. Is that a doctrine of God? Baptism or regeneration? No, it is not. But they plainly put it there. Okay? They believed in salvation by works. Do we believe that? No. No. That's not a doctrine of God. Well, all of those things. They believed in the universal church theory. They did not believe in physical, local, visible churches that God called out. It was a universal church because they were in the Catholic Church, and they went from the Catholic Church and they basically formed another universal church, the Church of England. Okay? Well, that's not a biblical doctrine either. These things they did. What I believe in the original languages, in Greek and Hebrew, that every word is inspired of God. Every tense, mode, and voice, and every verb and every noun is inspired of God. I believe that. I have proved that to myself. In the New Testament, you know, we talked about the Greek. We talked about before the transmission of the New Testament. It was hard back in the Dark Ages and even before the Dark Ages to own a Bible. To own a Bible. I think it was something like 300,000 denarii if you had a complete Bible. That's how much it would cost. 300,000 denarii. Anybody got a calculator with you? Brett, you got a calculator? Are you a mathematician?
Right here in my head.
All right, good deal. 300,000 denarii. Now, if you had a complete Bible, that's like Codex Vaticanus, Alexandria, Sinaiticus, okay? You know how much it was worth? 300,000 denarii. A minimum of 300,000 denarii. What is a denarii?
1 day.
1 day's wages. Think about that for a while.
So that's like over $1 million probably, maybe.
Well, this divided in 300,000 into how many days are there in a year?
Let's see,
365. Just find out how many years of labor without eating or anything else that you have to.
7 or 8 years.
Huh?
7 or 8 years. Might be 7. I bet you it's 7.
More like
You need to find out right now.
300,000 divided by 365.
821. 821.
821 years. 821 years. 300,000 divided by 365.
I think it'd be 8.2 years.
What is it? What is it? 829 years.
But that's
Now, that's 829 years of labor to have one Bible. Okay? Just think about that. That's pretty much impossible for anybody else. Churches were living and breathing and serving God with one book of the Bible. Did you know that? Just one book. Maybe the book of Acts, or Matthew, or Mark, or Luke, or John. Many of the preachers back in those days, the Baptist preachers in those days, had to memorize all 4 Gospels. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John by memory in Greek. And all 150 Psalms in Hebrew and be able to translate. I think I might have mentioned this before in this class or one class. Cotton Mather. Did I mention that last week? Cotton Mather, about Cotton Mather. You know who Cotton Mather was? He was a preacher back in Massachusetts, back in the, remember the Salem witch trials and all that? The Salem witch trials, do you remember those? Where they burned the witches, they took and baptized people. What they did, how many of you took the Pilgrims and the Puritans and all this stuff when they took people out and they put them in stocks? Remember that? Anybody study that? Yeah. And they took them and they put them in dunking chairs. You know what the dunking chairs were invented for? Against Baptists. They took them on they had a chair, they'd have a river running here like this, okay? And on the shore they'd have a long branch, a big long piece of board on a fulcrum, on a point right here, and they put a chair out here and they would take somebody and tie them or lock them in that chair. And they would take him out and dunk him in a deep part of that river and hold him underwater. This is what you call waterboarding.
There you go.
That's it, waterboarding.
Yeah, I mean,
it's torture.
I get you to say something.
You know, they were doing this to these prisoners, you know. Waterboarding, it's what it is. It's an early form of waterboarding, okay? So they're taking and dunking the Baptist. They said, are you going to baptize any more of our people? Put him down till the bubbles quit coming up. If he comes up, he's still alive. Are you going to renounce your faith and quit baptizing people? Because they sprinkled for baptism. And the Baptists, when they come to them, they would baptize them if they come out of the Puritans or whatever. Okay? The dunking chairs were for them. That's the waterboarding. Okay? One of Cotton Mather's theses is, or treatise, whatever you want to call it, how do you find a witch? How do you figure out if somebody's a witch? You know what it was? One of them was. Have you ever heard of the dead languages?
What?
Dead languages.
Yeah, like Latin and stuff like that.
Well, Latin and Greek. And Hebrew is a dead language, they used to say. If anybody knows those languages, he's a witch. Well, guess what Baptists were doing? Preaching from Greek and Hebrew. So they're what? Dead languages. So there's a witch, get him, burn him. That's what happened. All right, that happened. In the Dark Ages. Well, they always talked in Greek and Hebrew. Now we were kind of going the way of the world. Most of our preachers even had enough of Greek or Hebrew to even know it if they saw it. Now it came about in the 13th year of the 5th day of the 4th month while I was by the river Shebar among the exiles. The heavens were opened and I saw visions of God. I saw visions of God. Visions of God. That's kind of like the book of Revelation. Remember where John was? Where was John? Old John. Remember him? He was on the island of Patmos. All of a sudden he was done what? He said, God caught me up into heaven and showed me things. He was a time traveler. You want to have a time traveler. You know, today people have all kinds of visions today, don't they? Well, don't they? You ever hear people having all kinds of visions?
Yeah, like the world's going to end in 2012.
Well, I've been listening to a lot of people. What?
Mayans, this year, I mean, just this year for current.
2012.
Yeah, 2012, December 21, we're supposed to shut down. That's like Y2K, but I mean,
yeah.
I'm sure we won't.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. The Lord can come back any time, and all this can take place. Everything is in place, people. The rapture can take place any minute. We may not finish this class today. I don't know. And that would be good, wouldn't it? But what's going to happen to the world? All of the stuff that we talked about last week and at the beginning of this place are going to take place. It's all in place. Everybody's in the right place. Every nation is doing exactly what the nation is supposed to do in the last times. They're doing exactly what they're supposed to do. We have all the players in the right place. We got all the actors to act out the skit. Okay? He saw visions of God in Ezekiel 1 and verse 1. On the 5th month, in the 5th year of King Jehoiakim's exile. It tells you exactly when he got this vision. Okay? Now, we have all kinds of people today. Have any of you ever heard of Rosicrucianism?
Oh, yeah.
Have you? What's that about, brother?
I'm not sure, but
Now, can anybody know what a Rosicrucian
kinda
is?
weird.
How about New Age?
Yeah, I heard New Age.
Well, you heard of New Age. Oh, boy. We're getting people here to know what it's all about now. You ever heard anything about those things, Dora? New Age Rosicrucianism? It's very popular today.
Yeah, New Age is like it's almost like Scientology.
It's a mixture of all kinds of stuff. Every one of these religions or thoughts talk about reincarnation. How about Buddhism? You ever heard of Buddha? You heard of him?
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah, all right. He's a little fat guy, you know. You go into the Middle East restaurant over there and you rub his belly, you know. He's supposed to give you good luck. Good luck. Rub on Buddha's belly. All right. Well, Buddha was so afraid of being reincarnated that he went out, he left his family, he left his child, and he sat out underneath the tree for weeks and months at a time, depriving himself of the fellowship of his family and everything else, seeking God. How in the world am I going to get out of being reincarnated into some other beast?
He's going to cancel everything.
You know, they would not swat a fly, because that might be Aunt Margaret, or that louse, or that dog, or that cat. And you know what the highest form of life is to these people?
Yeah.
Some of the people over there, what is it?
Yeah.
The Brahma cow. This is pitiful stuff, but we have so much of it in the world today.
People will be there starving and they will eat.
They won't do it. Vegetarian. I'd be a vegetarian if I could. But I tell you what, my system is the Indian system. I can't do that. But if I would never be a vegetarian according to religion, because I was going to eat my uncle or aunt or my great-grandmother or somebody. I just like animals. Well, old Buddha sat there for a long time and finally he got this idea that he wouldn't have to be reincarnated. When he died, he could just go into nothingness. He would be annihilated into nirvana. Boy, I mean, this is good. I don't have to go through this again. That was his idea, that they would cease to be. They could just cease to be when you die.
You cancel stuff out.
Annihilated. And that's what a lot of the people in the world today believe. They may not name themselves a Buddhist, but they believe that. Now, how about all of this, how about people that are, I constantly hear people say, oh, I was, in my former life, I'm afraid of drowning, so maybe in my former life I was drowned in the ocean or in a lake or something or other. I am afraid of heights. Maybe I fell out of an airplane the last time and died of falling or something, you know. All this kind of stuff. You know, some people, you're born into the world one time. The unusual thing is that when God formed Adam, as he formed the dust of the ground, not from dirt, but as he formed the dust, he breathed in him the breathings of lives. And I'm going to tell you, it says breathings of lives. When he breathed into Adam, you were there in Adam. Your life was there. But I'm going to tell you, until you were conceived by your mother and father, you weren't in existence. Your life was back there. And by the way, God knew you in eternity past. This is what we call foreknowledge, isn't it? If God is actually omniscient, what's omniscient mean? Knows everything. Omnipotent is all-powerful. If he's actually omniscient, then he does know us from eternity past. Well, in this chart here, if you need one of these charts, see me after class. I have some. All the way back in eternity past, God knew we would come into being. He knew this. He's omniscient. He's all-knowing. He knew that. But in space and time, you become a living being one time. One time. The New Age idea, even some American Indians are caught up in this right now. Yeah, there was a very, very famous L. Ron Hubbard. And I can't think of the guy that went over there looking around in the Palestine for over and over years. Can't think of his name right now, but he was believed in reincarnation. He was looking for himself.
Why he's looking in the mirror?
Huh? By his former self. How would you like to be able to... there's one guy that wrote a book right now that said that he was the Apostle Paul.
Yeah, right.
I'm going to tell you what Apostle Paul lived one time. That's it. He lived one time. Shirley MacLaine, you ever hear of her?
Oh, yeah.
All right. You see some of these movie stars. The movie stars are caught up in this New Age thing. Rosicrucianism. Rosicrucianism is very old. They believe in reincarnation. Okay? We're absorbed into the master of the universe, but every one of them do away with the person of God. Jesus was a prophet. He lived. But he was not God. He is not the only way of salvation. He's not the only way to get into heaven. Every one of these believe that. Moral structure sometimes is zilch. We see this. We know one thing. Can somebody speak a language that he didn't know? Go into a trance and do these kind of things? They do hypnosis and everything else. And they'll do this, and people can do this. Now, does this really happen? Yes, it really happens. But what is it? Their former self, or what is it?
Subconscious.
Huh? We're talking about inspiration now, people. Inspiration.
They're talking about hypnosis.
Well, hypnosis. God hypnotized Adam in the Garden of Eden. That's how he put him to sleep. He hypnosis. That's what it's termed. Man is triune. Again, he is body. He is spirit. He is what?
Mind.
Soul. He is body, basar, in Hebrew. What is it's soma in Greek? I can write it in English. I get these languages and I can't write it in English. All right, soul. It is nephesh in Hebrew, or psyche. Again, psyche. I can't even write it in English. All right, Greek. All right, never think of it. Psychic, anyway, psychic, and then soul. Soul in the or spirit, that is spirit, is ruah in Hebrew, and spirit is pneuma. I don't even know how to write that. Something like that, pneuma, in English. Okay, so here we have all of this. Man is flesh. He's material in it. He's related to the earth. He is related, God is related to him through the flesh. Okay? Because Jesus was Jesus' flesh. He's really flesh and blood. A lot of these theologies and philosophies will say that Jesus was never a real person. Jesus had to be a real person. He had to be flesh so he could be related to us. Okay? All right. And spirit. All right? Now, just think about...
I got a question.
Hold on just a minute, brother. Now we have angels. Okay? And we have spirits. And how many groupings of angels do we basically have? Three. Michael, Gabriel, and Lucifer. Okay? Lucifer's in the physical realm. All right? Michael is in the spiritual realm. And Gabriel is in the what? The mental. Right here is the mental and the soulish. Okay? That's where it is, Gabriel. That's the communication realm. Now there's three orders of spirits in the spirit world. They're in the material realm, they're in the physical realm, and they are in the communication realm. Now, these fallen spirits, brother.
The soul is, you're talking about the mind?
The soul is a person.
It's a conscience?
It's a consciousness, it is a mind, it's a constant consciousness. From the time that you're conceived, you have constant consciousness forever. When you die, you go and be someplace. You don't go to sleep, as many groups teach the soul sleeping. You're not going to soul sleep. You're not going to go into annihilation, as the Buddhists believe. Annihilated. Okay? This is body. That's physical. Here's soul. This is our mental capacity. And then spirit is what gives the body life. Okay? Now, when we're born into this world, we're born in with a spirit of rebellion in us, aren't we? That's what gives us death. All right? That's what gives us death. Eternal death. Okay? And then when we're born again, that spirit is kicked out, and we have Spirit God in us, don't we? Spirit God. And Spirit God is what reforms you. Okay? In your life and everything. Spirit God. Now, in the angelic and spiritual forces, we have triune man, we have triune angels, and we have triune spirits. Now, what part of God and the angelic forces, who caused Ezekiel to write this? Where did it come from? Where did the information come from, the inspiration of this book?
From God.
It came from God. But how did he get it? The book of Daniel, how did Daniel get the information?
From Gabriel?
No.
Because I mean, didn't he
No,
speak
wait
to
a minute,
him?
wait a minute. Going too far.
From Spirit.
Okay? How did he get the information? How did he get the message?
Spirit.
He got the interpretation from Gabriel. But how did he get the message? From the Spirit of God. Spirit God. Okay? Spirit God. Now here we have Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. All right? Father's, see, triuneness. All right? We have God. Here now is God. Now God is Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. He isn't three gods. He's one God. But we have Father, we have Son, and we have the Spirit. Okay? God created us in the book of Genesis it says, from Hebrew it says, in His shadow casting likeness. And His blood flowing likeness, and His spiritual likeness He created out. Okay? Triunely. All right? And here we have all these triune structures. All right? Now, when God inspired Ezekiel, how did He do it? The Spirit of God dealt with him. Spirit of God dealt with him. And probably spirits in Gabriel's realm. Gabriel, in Gabriel's realm are physical angels. Angels do have form. Okay? A lot of people don't separate angels from spirits. There is difference between angels and spirits. I used to teach pneumatology in the seminary. Pneumatology. Okay? It was demonology too. Pneumatology and demonology. One semester of pneumatology, one semester of demonology. Okay? Pneumatology, the study of spirits. Spirits and demons are the same. Fallen spirits are demons. All right? We have angels and we have fallen angels, don't we? All right? Angels and fallen angels. The angels that followed God are the obedient angels. And I think some of them are in Gabriel's realm, some of them are in Lucifer's realm, and some of them are in Michael's realm. I don't think that all of the angels in Lucifer's realm fell with him. The Bible says that 1/3 of the devil or Satan or Lucifer took 1/3 of the angels with him. Now, if you divide them, he would have taken, if you think like this, if you think all of Lucifer's angels went with him, then what about what we call guardian angels today? Guardian angels are in the material realm, okay? That's the physical realm. Have you ever felt sometimes that you were absolutely protected from death in the physical world? I can guarantee you I had a lot of times. And that was guardian angels. And those are in the material realm from Lucifer's, the ones that did not fall with Lucifer. There are angels in the communication realm, in the mental, soul, communication, mental. There are angels that did not fall, and there's angels that did fall. And there's angels in the Michaels that fell, and some did not fall. But 1/3 of the angels altogether fell. What do Michael's angels do?
Warfare.
The spirit warfare. Every time you see, every nation in this world has spiritual forces behind them. Good and evil. Yes.
I got a question. If Gabriel's in charge of the warfare and Michael's in charge of the spirit, and Lucifer is no longer in charge of material, and you said that
Who's over material?
Material,
today?
yeah.
Who's over the material world today? Huh?
devil as far as the material.
Yeah, right. But who was? He got
Lucifer
replaced.
at one time before he got...
Well, Lucifer was, but who did God replace
Adam.
Lucifer with? Adam. Adam lost his deal, so that's why we're in all this trouble, because what Adam did. We're going to gain the earth back. In the millennial reign, we will have this back. The Lord is going to come back. He's going to take it over. Okay? Let's get back here now. Now, in the world today, if you're going to be led astray, from God, what angelic, where would you get the angelic messages? Now, angels are physical beings. They look like men, okay? They have form. Spirits do not. Angels have form. Every time you see an angel that appears in the Bible, it has form. They look like what? Men in white clothing. Now, according to the 6th chapter of the book of Genesis, if you believe in that these angels there, which in Hebrew it plainly states this, that the sons of God, or the angels, cohabited with women, and they raised a supernatural race of people that were very bad. We find out later on, now God destroyed all of those in the flood. Okay? In the flood. He destroyed all of those in the flood. But then we have them bouncing back again and coming back in the days of Palestine. And that's where Goliath was one of them, wasn't he? He was one of these supernatural beings. All right?
He was a fallen
And he was a hybrid, a Nephilim. The Bible plainly says that he was a Nephilim. He was a Nephilim. Nephilim means fallen ones. That is a hybrid between a human and an angel.
So
Because
he
both of them are
had supernatural powers?
supernatural strength.
Strength. Okay.
Strength. All right, supernatural strength and leadership powers. Who is going to be the one in the last days that have these supernatural? He'll be physical, but he'll have supernatural powers.
Antichrist.
Who? The Antichrist. We have all kinds. You know, God, one time in space and time, broke into the human race in the person of whom? Of Jesus. God became flesh. John 1:14, Kaiho Logos Sarxageno, and the Word, the Jehovah flesh, He became. Now, where did we have that promise? What book tells us that the promise of that was going to take place? Genesis 3:15. Ever since Genesis 3:15, the devil's been copycatting him. And then one final time he's going to copycat him right here. Because there's going to be the devil in flesh walking among us. And he's going to be the Messiah of Israel. They will accept him as the Messiah. All right? These three realms now. Now, today, if somebody gave you a false message, what realm would it be coming from? The mental, the intellectual realm. Where would you get the message from? From Gabriel's realm, but from the fallen spirits in Gabriel's realm. Now, angels have form, but spirits do what? What do spirits do? They seek to dwell in human or animal flesh. They do. They seek to dwell in human or animal flesh. Now, are they here today? Absolutely. Are there people that can really tell fortunes and stuff?
Sure.
Yeah. And can they tell you, can they imitate people that lived 500, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 years ago? Sure they can. Because angels and spirits don't die. And besides that, they don't get messed up in the head.
But the fallen
When we
angels-
get old, what happens to our memory? It starts failing, especially when you get Alzheimer's or dementia or something like that. I mean, Brother Hubbard, my great Greek and Hebrew teacher, he was in such bad shape at last. He would lose his way to school, get lost, driving from Lancaster to Fresno, where he was teaching in the college up there, the seminary. And then he was so bad at last that he didn't know where his classroom was. Somebody had to lead him there. Once he got there, he could teach up a storm in Greek and Hebrew, but he didn't know how to get there. Dementia. Angels don't have that problem, neither do spirits. Spirits and angels have been around. They saw you born, Brother R. They did. And they know everything that ever happened to you. They can copycat it. They know everything that happened to Alexander the Great, and they can copycat it and speak it in Koine Greek. They can imitate Buddha and speak it in his language. King Tut, India, there's no problem because they haven't forgotten the thing. But is it from them? Is it a message from Tut or Buddha or Alexander the Great? The message is from this demonic field. Now, can people be demon possessed today? Absolutely. Can a child of God be demon possessed? I don't believe so. Can they be demon oppressed? Absolutely. Demons don't ever leave us alone, do they?
Definitely.
Oh, the devil is walking around, walking to and fro upon the earth, seeking who he may devour. All right, all the time. He did that to a guy in the Old Testament. The name of the book of Job, didn't he? You want to know what the devil can do? Just go look there. Every bad storm in this world today is because of Satan. Every murderer, everybody is inspired. Charles Manson. I have one of my students was a prison guard there at where Manson is in prison. They say that people are scared of that rascal. He's demon-possessed people. You walk in a room with somebody like that, and sometimes you know something's going on. There are demons living in their body. There was one there on the Sea of Galilee, the Gadarene demoniac. How many demons did he have in him?
2,000.
2,000. At least 2,000 demons living in his flesh. But God freed him, didn't he? And he became a preacher. Did you know that? He wanted to be a disciple, and Jesus told him, you go over there to the cities where you came from, and you tell your family about me. And guess what? Over there in Decapolis, what they call the 10 cities, Decapolis. Decapolis. That's what it means in Greek. 10 cities. That was the strongest churches in the early ages. That's where that man wasn't preached. They believed him. All right. But where did the demons want to go when they left him, when Jesus cast them out of his body? Where did they want to go? Pigs are animals. So we know that demons live in animal or human flesh.
They have to inhabit something. Right?
They inhabit something, or else they're floating around. They're around,
I mean,
but they seek
to
to inhabit human or animal flesh. I think most of our politicians probably have. Probably have visitors. Okay? They probably have visitors. I mean on both sides. Yeah, there aren't any out there for you people. If you think the Republicans are for you, or you're a fool. Same thing with the Democrats. Neither one of them are for you. And both of them are going in the same direction. I can guarantee you. You want to get somebody to represent you, you better start another party. Because those aren't going to represent you, I can guarantee you. They're both going the same way. You're sold out people. As simple as that. And they got the power, boy. They're in power. And who are behind all of these nations in the world today? All these angelic and demons forces. Now, there were some that were so bad in Michael's realm that they had to be put in prison, huh? And we all started this finding out how Ezekiel is inspired. But you need to understand how he's inspired. Can the devil inspire people? Can spirits inspire people to write books? Well, of course. Can people that go to these false religions, what attracts them to that? When you're going to get saved, when you hear the preaching of God's Word, how does God save you? By what? By the conviction of the Holy Spirit of God. That's how He does it.
Conscience.
By the conviction of Spirit God. Okay? Genesis 1 and 2 tells you the story of salvation. Spirit God, Ruah Elohim, went out over the faces, El Panei Tahom, the faces of the deep. You know what? You're lost in this world when you realize that you're lost and undone before God. Spirit God is hovering over your soul. And He's convicting you of sin, righteousness, and judgment to come. And then you're saved, and Spirit God lives in you then. All right. That's beautiful, isn't it? He seals you for the resurrection, the good resurrection. All right? Now, all of us are going to be resurrected, aren't we? The lost and the saved, both are going to be resurrected. The lost are going to be resurrected to what we call asbestos bodies in hell. They're not going to burn up. They're not going to cease to be. They're not going to annihilation. They're going to be in eternal hellfire. Okay? And in the meanwhile, hold on just a second. In the meanwhile, there's still Sheol and Hades today, isn't there? But Hades and Sheol, in Revelation 27 through 9, is going to be cast into the lake of fire. All of those, they will be resurrected in bodies, those corruptible bodies, and put into the lake of fire. Brother.
I always assumed that the fallen angels were out of the material realm, under the guidance of Lucifer. Did they come out of Michael and Gabriel too?
Yes. I don't think, if we have a guardian angel today, it's out of the material, it's out of Lucifer's realm. The ones that do follow the Lord. Okay?
So a third came out of Lucifer as well as Gabriel and Michael?
Yes. As far as I can tell, and most theologians believe that. They didn't all come out. They didn't all leave. Okay? Now we have angels and spirits. Now remember, we have fallen spirits, and the fallen spirits are called what? Demons. Okay? The good spirits are called spirits. But the fallen spirits are called demons. And what does demon mean?
Little God.
Little God. Thank you. Daimonia. Daimonia. It means a little God or a supernatural thing. A spirit is supernatural. Well, why do we say supernatural? Super, above natural, above normal. Can you go in the spirit world and just stay there anytime you want to, Brother Rex?
I've never done it.
Oh, you never have. You can think heavenly thoughts, you can read your Bible and all that kind of stuff, and you can visit God with His Word, but you're still here, you're tied down. So that means you're physical, you're normal. We talk about paranormal activity. What does paranormal mean?
Near normal?
Paranormal.
Or normal? Next to normal?
Paranormal.
Not normal.
Comes from the Greek word para. Okay, paranormal.
Isn't that next or before?
Outside of normal. Okay, this is what we call supernatural. Okay, supernatural or paranormal. Okay. Now, Ezekiel was supernaturally inspired to write this book. Okay, he was supernaturally inspired to write this book. He had information from God that could foresee. The book of Daniel, when we studied the book of Daniel, remember I showed you that little video when I was so sick we couldn't teach. I showed you it had a lot of illustrations and everything in it. And we saw how the book of Daniel told things that would happen 3,000 and 4,000 years and 5,000 years ahead. And even old Jacob, when he was on his deathbed there in Egypt, he told the whole history of mankind. God inspired him supernaturally to be able to prophesy. You look at the 49th and 50th chapter, 48, 49, and 50 chapter of the book of Genesis. That's prophecy, people. Prophecy of the whole history of mankind. We see it. And Noah's 3 sons. Noah, in naming those sons, we see the whole history of mankind laid out. not only laid out, but we see it, the world populated by it. We see the technology. We see the information. All of it is there. And the spiritual foundation we see there. All right. And the word of the Lord came, number 3. All right. Ezekiel 1 and 3. Are you there, Brother Art?
Yeah. And the word of the Lord came, especially to Ezekiel, the priest, son of Ozai, in the land of Chaldeans, by the river Shibar. And there the hand of the Lord came upon him.
Okay, the hand of the Lord. What does it mean by the hand of the Lord? It also says the arm of the Lord. What does the hand and the arm of the Lord mean?
He's talking about the word.
Huh?
His word.
Yeah, but the power. When it talks about the arm of God or the hand of God, it talks about the power of God. God fashioned the worlds, what we call worlds, ages. He fashioned the ages. He fashioned eternity. All right? He spoke it into existence, and He formed it, and He formed man as He formed. Man came from the hands of God, the hands of power of God. Okay? The hands of God. And I looked, and behold, a storm. A wind was coming from the north, a great cloud. Boy, there's some hard storms coming from the north, aren't they? What you call northers. And with fire flashing forth continually and bright light around it, and amidst something like the glowing metal in the midst of the fire. How many of you ever watched a blacksmith? I mean, this is old stuff. I mean, how many of you ever seen a blacksmith? You don't even know what a blacksmith is?
Joe does it. That's Joe.
Huh?
That's Joe.
I saw it at a mission.
Huh?
I saw it at a mission.
You saw a blacksmith at a mission. All right. I used to do blacksmith work. That's when you used to have to make horseshoes a long time ago. And even out in the oil fields, the bits that they used to use in those old cable tool rigs, they did not have welding back then, and they had to have great big forges and gigantic hammers and stuff and big anvils. And they would take those tools and they'd heat them in a forge real hot, and if they wanted to put more metal on them, they'd beat the metal on them. How many of you ever heard of borax?
That's so.
Borax. Oh, you go out there and get borax. Borax was flux. No. Anyway, borax, they would take and dip that, whatever you were going to put on this drill bit. Now, brother, you know what I'm talking about, Brother Rex? You're old enough.
My grandpa washed with borax.
All right, and you take a big piece of metal and you heat that up and just make it almost white hot, and then you hit it real hard with a hammer, and you pound it into that old bit, and here they got the bit real hot, they got the piece of metal real hot, and they beat it together, and it becomes one. Brother Art's a welder. Flux does what?
Flux cord?
It makes
Welds.
metal stick to metal, doesn't it? That's what the borax. And they would do this. You could see all this pounding together.
Yeah, they make stuff called flux cord now, Jim.
Yeah. Well, anyway, back in those days, you had to have it. You see this, and this is what it's doing. This is like a Ezekiel is looking into a forge, something hot like metal. He sees metal. Metal will turn orange. It'll turn red, and then it'll turn orange. And then what's the next color, brother?
White.
White. White hot. I remember one time up in Fish Lake Valley when I was living up there, I went and got some mountain mahogany and some pitch pine. It was old, actually it was pieces of some of that wood came all the way down. It was bristlecone pine, the oldest things in the world. These things are real old, and they were just full of pitch. And then some of this mountain mahogany, I took my little wood-burning cook stove and I put some of this wood in there, a little too much. And my wood stove started going poof, 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 poof. I mean, it was going poof, 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 like this, and pretty soon the whole top of that stove turned red, orange, and then red, and then it started fading, and you could see through it. You could see the flames through the metal. Ooh, that was scary. I'm going to tell you something. That was scary.
Yeah, you're wondering if it's going to burn your house down right away.
Yeah. And it was 20 below or 30 below zero outside. And I was ready to pick that stove up and throw it out the door. I started throwing water on it.
Crack that baby.
I opened it up and started pouring water in there. And this is scary because, this stuff is like an explosion now. That's what Ezekiel was seeing, is this heat like in a forge. Okay? And then he says, number 5, let's look at that one.
Wait a minute. Now, this is in the sky, right?
No, just look at it here. Now let's go back, okay? Let's look at verse number 5. Brother Dr. John there.
Also from within it came the likeness of 4 living creatures.
Now here is something coming out of a forge.
Yeah, 4 living creatures, like an alien.
Now this is living creatures in a forge. We see something hotter than blazes, and we got living beings walking around in this forge. Okay, Brother John.
And this was their appearance. They had the likeness of a man. Each one had 4 faces. Each one had 4 wings. Their legs were straight, and soles of their feet were like the soles of calves' feet. They sparkled like the color of burnished bronze.
Okay, now they're hot looking. They're hot looking, okay? They're shiny. Now what's going on here? Now, the Bible uses 4 a lot, doesn't it? How many different directions are there around the tabernacle?
4.
4. Now I've got
out there in the world. 4.
I've got a picture, a thing here. You see the different tribes, and out here they had 4 flags, didn't they? 4 flags. What were the 4 flags? What were the 4 flags? What were on the 4 flags?
The tribes.
They were all grouped under 4 flags. The different tribes were grouped under 4 flags. I wish I had handed that out.
There's a Luke. Is there Luke? No, there's not.
Well, Luke, Matthew, they represented Matthew, Mark, and Luke.
Okay.
But what kind of figures were on the 4 flags around the 4 different directions? What?
Bear, I think.
Okay, let's look at one. Okay, the Gospel of John is, how does it look at Jesus? As the God from heaven. And on that flag that represented the Gospel of John was an eagle. All right. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the 4 directions. This is a theophany. This is a theophany looking at all the expressions of Jesus as he stood. Okay? As he in space and time. Now he was God of heaven that came down to visit mankind, that became related to mankind. All right, now there was another flag. It had a calf on it. A calf. A calf is a beast of what?
Oh, it's the animal.
Beast of burden.
Huh? Beast of burden. Thank you, brother. Took a doctor just to find that one out. A beast of burden. It is. And Jesus is our beast of burden. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. All right. All right. And one of them had a face of a man on it. A face of a man. The Son of Man. Who kept saying the Son of Man? Which one was that, brother? Luke. Luke. We have Mark as the beast of burden. We have Luke. And then we have Matthew. And one of them had a what on it? The Lion of the tribe of Judah.
Brando had it, man.
That's right. The Lion of the tribe of Judah. So we have all these, and guess what we're going to have here? We're going to see all of that again here in this book. All right, it says, and the legs were straight. And number 8, Doris, could you read number 8 for us, verse number 8?
And they had the hands of a man under their wings on their 4 sides, and their 4 had their faces and their wings.
All right. And number 9 there, Brother X. You want to read that one?
Their wings touched one another. Their faces did not turn when they moved. Each went straight forward.
All right, so they looked straight forward. What does this mean? They were omniscient. They could see everything at once. All right, that's talking about omniscience of God. Number 10. Are you over there, Joseph?
I am.
You over there, what's your name? Brett.
Oh, yeah, 1 and 10. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, 1 and 10.
All right, let's see if I can find it here.
Okay. Ezekiel 1 and 10.
Okay, as for the likenesses of the faces.
Ezekiel 1.
Oh, Ezekiel. Okay, that's. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
You were right.
You were right.
I was right. Oh, I'll start right here. Okay.
He's got the king's.
As for the likeness of their faces, they 4 had. They 4 had the face of man and the face of a lion on the right side, and they 4 had the face of an ox on the left side. They 4 also had the face of an eagle.
Guess what? We see Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John portraying Jesus. We see the 4 flags of Israel, and we see the beast in the book of Revelation. The living creatures in the book of Revelation also. All right. Number, all down to here, where in Revelation is it? You see the same thing in the book of Revelation, don't you?
You do,
Same
right.
thing in the book of Revelation. We see the 4 flags. We see the same thing. They were faces. Their wings were spread out above, each one touching one another, being 2 covering. And they went straight forward. Wherever the Spirit was about to go, they would go without turning as they went. And in the midst of the living beings, there was something like that looked like what? A forge. Like a forge. Like coals of fire, like torches darting back and forth among the living beings. The fire was bright and lightning was flashing from the fire. Now, how about the throne of God in the book of Revelation? What was that like? Same thing, lightning flashes. And above the throne was what? The rainbow throne of God. What was below the throne? Reflecting all of the fire and everything in the glory of God. Here at the tabernacle, what led Israel around in the wilderness, and even what led Israel out of Egypt?
The cloud.
Fire
No.
and cloud.
The fire cloud, yeah.
The fire. It was a cloud in the daytime and fire at night, which is the what? The Shekinah glory of God. Here we have the Shekinah glory of God right here. This is the Shekinah glory of God. It said in verse 14, and the living beings ran to and fro like bolts of lightning. And now I looked, and the living beings, behold, there was one wheel on the earth, and beside the living beings for each wheel, for each of the 4 of them. And the appearance of the wheels and their workmanship was like a sparkling beryl. And all 4 of them had the same form, and their appearance and workmanship being in one wheel were within another wheel. All right? We see all of this. God's eternal purpose. We see God's eternity. Eternity is a circle, isn't it? When you have a wedding ring, they said this represents a what? An eternal circle. Okay? Wherever they moved in any of the 4 directions without turning as they moved. And as for the rims, they were lofty and awesome. The rims of all 4 of them were full of eyes all around. Eyes. What does eyes represent?
A predator.
Omniscience.
Predator. Sorry, Jim.
When you have something that has eyes on the front of their face, that's a predator.
My anatomy teacher liked that. I can only one to answer that.
Yeah. And wherever the living beings moved, the wheels moved with them. And wherever the living rose from the earth, the wheels rose with them. This is a theophany. Write down theophany. This is a display of God. All right. Well, I'm going to turn you loose on the world. That's all we got for today. That's like a divine helicopter in all those wheels. Moving and going. That's God now. God moves around. He knows everything that's going on. Beware of the spirits, for many spirits out there are not of God. Spirit God being you, it won't lead you to all this other stuff. All this other stuff. Well, let's see here. Who is? Do we have anybody to do the prayer thing?
Some of you have a prayer thing,
We don't have a prayer thing.
but I can get up there and call somebody.
You want to get up here and
Get up
take
there and
over?
call somebody, you know.
Okay. All right. Get up here and behave yourself. Thank you for your attention today. And go out and do something eternal this week. Remember all of our prayer requests.